How's it going, ladies and Bruce? It's Entropic Sixkilla, and today we're going to be checking out a game called Entropic Float. This is one that came out on Steam, I don't know, maybe a month ago. I did notice it when it came out. It is free to play, so link in the description if you want to jump out, play it. Why not? It's free. It's another one of these games. At the moment I'm just sort of, you know, throwing things at the wall still, trying out a bunch of different games to see what'll stick, what's got the most appeal to me, and what's most interesting to you. So we're going to do a few more impressions videos yet and see what is going to be the best pick for the next main series, you know. So with that said, let's jump into half an hour of Entropic Float and see what we think about it. Welcome to the world of Entropic Float. This game was made for fun, using primarily royalty-free and fair use assets. For details, please view the credits through the main menu. This game is being shared for its story, so please excuse any potential lapses in technical details. Proper sound balancing is too much headache. I agree. I mean, it has to be done, but it is a headache. If you find yourself confused by a particular plot point, you will have the opportunity to review the nitty-gritty of the world building upon unlocking the miracle route leading to the true ending. Entropic Float also involves heavy topics such as abuse, mental illness, and death. For a detailed list of content warnings, please view the warnings through the main menu. Entropic Float will read your system time and determine your route. This will be able to be changed after unlocking a few endings, or manipulated manually on the end that you'd prefer to play, in a certain order that this feature does not allow for. However, please leave your system time untouched for your first playthrough. Likewise, select which of the following three most closely matches your own gender identity. That's interesting, isn't it? It's tied to your system time? Interesting. You will experience this loop through the eyes of Kanatsune, Ame, or Kanatsun. You are not Kanatsun, and Kanatsun is not you. But do your best to guide him through this place, alright? So you'll be helping me? Alright, let's see how this goes. I woke up in an odd location, not altogether unusual for me at the onset. At least there were pillows this time. I lifted my head to see that my best hopes were utterly empty. The pillows were not some generous gift from somebody whose house I needed to stay over at through circumstances. This was... oh jeez. Oh no. My affinity is low, isn't it? Like, fuck. No. Panicking wouldn't help anything. I had to take a minute and simply think through what I knew. This was an anomaly. I had training to recognize that, though I couldn't exactly remember why. I knew a lot about anomalies in general, enough to say that in this one, my affinity was low. Anomalies were a phenomenon that occurred with some regularity. Most considered them in the same category as plane crashes or large tornadoes, though there was a bit more of a supernatural bent to this particular disaster, given it was known to be created by magic gone wrong. Even my own knowledge was limited. Humanity simply didn't understand anomalies in depth. Still, I understood the concept of affinity. No matter how prepared a person was, their affinity could be high or low in any given anomaly. A clueless person with a high affinity may even have a better chance at survival than a seasoned expert who enters an anomaly with a low affinity. My affinity was low, which was why I was having trouble remembering what my job was that let me know things about anomalies, and also why I couldn't recall anything about the several other times that I had certainly woken up here before. This was a loop anomaly, after all. Time was going to rewind, probably at midnight, though I couldn't tell from in here what time it currently was. And time had most certainly already rewound several times even before I got here. This anomaly had to have been around for a while. So, with that all sorted out for myself, I felt calm enough to start planning. Loop anomalies unraveled in a particular way. They shifted each time the clock rewound, so efforts had to be made to learn as much as possible each time. My affinity being low wouldn't help with that, but if I put my mind to it, I could start remembering information from other loops. And if other people were here, I might be able to get their help. Is that the greatest plan though? I might gain more information if I'm forthcoming sometimes, but other times if I keep information on myself. Wow, talking to yourself? You're transparent, are you a ghost? Ah! Oh, okay, it is a ghost. You're a ghost? Stop it. That clock has too many hands. You're... Emily? I'd rather talk to myself than talk to you. That's a little harsh. It is. You were a little harsh. My memory may be shot, but I can remember what you did. What I did? Oh, yeah, your memory's shot. That was so many loops ago from my perspective, but I guess when it's a roll of the dice, you might remember anything at any time. From your perspective? We're friends now. You forgave me so many times for other stuff. I think I could cash in one for the time that I hurt you specifically. Maybe one of those other times. If we're friends, leave me alone, Emily. Well, alright, but don't hesitate to call me if you need me, okay? If I need somebody to... I didn't remember how you did it, but somebody to put me through mental agony? Sure, I'll keep you in mind. See if you decide that you need it then. She was gone. Good. I didn't want her here, even if she was telling the truth. And I'd forgiven her for the flood of bad feelings her presence immediately brought to mind. None of that forgiveness fluttered in my mind when I saw her this time. It honestly took everything I had not to panic. She was a floater, somebody who wasn't really here right now, but who could still project their opinions towards someone who was. She had many more memories than me. I didn't doubt that I sometimes forgave her, I just couldn't right now. In fact, I probably forgave her most of the time, knowing I was more likely to do such a thing. She wouldn't have been able to tell me about other loops like that, if it wasn't a foregone conclusion. Now, I'm getting the impression that English was not the creator's native language. Not that the translation's bad, it's just phrased strangely. Let me know if I'm wrong, but just the impression I get. I just wouldn't this time, despite it being common enough that I already knew that I did. I simply had nothing but negative feelings toward that woman at the moment. Maybe she could have been helpful to me, but anything would have been permitted to tell me was something I could figure out on my own anyway. Like, for example, how to get out of this room. There was a door that was completely boarded up. I might be able to find a way to get through it, but I figured I'd check for other options first. That wood's going straight through the door frame. I don't think that's healthy. I took another look around and spotted a trapdoor over on the floor. I walked over to it and opened it up. Spaces out there? The trapdoor's too big for the hole and spaces through the hole. It swung easily, with very little resistance in the hinges. I couldn't see through it once it was open, but that made sense. It seemed my ability to remember other loops was in top shape, this time around, since as soon as I saw this I remembered how common it was to see these types of patterns elsewhere. Maybe seeing Amelie kick-started the remembering process that would usually take a bit longer? Those memories were frustratingly vague. It would have been nice if I had had some sort of context, but as it stood, all I knew was that on some other route, she caused me to have a full-blown mental breakdown. It was hard to imagine context, making that sound any better. Hard, but not impossible. It was, after all, done in the pursuit of information. I knew that much. If I could actually remember the information I gained, and not the full-blown emotional agony of the experience, I probably would be able to let it slide. I really needed to get moving. Or at least, check to be sure that there was actually something on the other side of the void that I was currently staring down. That was what I needed to do, but chances were that if I went through this door, there'd be other people. Given the way that seeing Amelie made me immediately remember so much, and do so little at once, I wasn't sure I was ready to meet any actual people. Not that Amelie wasn't real, but she certainly wasn't a solid being at the moment. I took a deep breath. Okay, Karnatsan, enough of that, right? I swung a leg through the haze of the trapdoor, and found the first rung of the ladder going down. I descended and found myself in a hallway. There were people at the other end, but I didn't manage to recognize them all, at all. It was also already night this time around, so we'd have less time to investigate before the loop ended. I figured our only bet of actually finding a way out was on a loop with the entire day ahead of us. But I didn't need to be that bluntly honest. Hello? Oh, somebody else is here. Way to make a guy feel welcome. I've had a rough day so far, and I've only experienced about 5 minutes of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, I was just caught off guard there. Obviously it's good to see other people here. Not that there are more people stuck here, but that we can all talk to each other? Oh, it's not quite all. What do you mean? It's complicated, but The bottom line of the matter is that there are 7 other people trapped here who we can't communicate with or see. This time around. Right, because it's a loop anomaly. There are other times around. Exactly. It's best not to be too concerned about those other 7 though. Okay, I already didn't care about them. Perry, that's not nice. So your name's Perry? Did the 6 of you not introduce yourselves to each other before I got here? I think some of us already knew each other, so it slipped our minds. That won't do at all. The first step to working together is to know who's working, after all. I'll go first. Hello everyone, you may call me Kanatsun. That's not my real name, nor will you be hearing my real name. Once I remember precisely why I'm here, you can count on me. It's nice to meet you. I'm JJ McGermanotta. He is hoping that we can all get along. Must you so enthusiastically give away your identity? Yeah, and since I did, you have no reason not to give yours before I do it for you. Go on and give them your name. My name? That's Stephanie McGermanotta. Or Germanotta. I know it's a bit odd, but you can call me any nickname that you like. Have you got some problem with your full name? Nothing aside from its length, I suppose. Right, I'm Madeline Nenohara. This is all pretty weird, but don't you think... Are they talking? That's so quiet. Holy crap, is it voice acted? Or is it like robo voice acted? I'm gonna turn the voice right up. Right, I'm Madeline Nenohara. This is all pretty weird, but don't you think it's also exciting in a way? As long as it doesn't become really dangerous, might as well consider it an adventure. So no, it's not voice acted? I swear it was voice acted a second ago. It can't be any more life-threatening than whitewater rafting after all. Wow, you've done that kind of thing? Yeah, a few times. Want to give me a name to invite along next time I'm making waves?
I'm Perry Dubois. I do hope that I'll be able to trust everyone here. Please don't be my enemies.
I hope you can hear that. So it looks like occasional lines are voice acted, but most aren't. I hope so too.
It's good to meet everybody. Here's hoping we can all get along. Oh yeah, my name's Abel Moreau.
This is made in Renpai. I'm getting the impression that the voice lines are actually under the sound mixer. Let's check. Guess that leaves me. Here goes everything.
Rajmi Jamil. That's my name. And let's get one thing out of the way to begin with. Don't dare call me a girl, okay? Bad enough I'm an anomaly. Anything else and I'm going to go apeshit.
I'm not sure if that's louder. It's a new thing I'm trying out, that introduction. You sufficiently convinced I'll bust your kneecaps if you misgender me? Message loud and clear, Captain. Now that we'd all been properly introduced, it was about time I shared some of what I knew. So, we already discussed the nature of this anomaly, but there's one more thing that I wanted to mention. It's likely you've all got various gaps in your memories. Myself, I can't even remember what my job was, or how I learned as much as I know about anomalies. It's also possible to acquire memories from other loops. Basically, what I'm saying here is, if you start to vaguely remember something, chase that feeling. Do everything you can to bring that memory into focus. Oh, that's easy enough. I already did it, I think. Wait, really? Yeah, I didn't remember for a bit, but then I did.
I remember how I got here. I was at the store, actually. I saw my dad there, and I really didn't want him to notice me, so I ducked through an employees-only door, but it led to the clock tower instead.
Madeline's second note was added to her profile. I'm really impressed that you were able to remember. So maybe it's just the profile ones that add lines to the profile that are voice acted, maybe. But that's not exactly a pleasant memory, so sorry about that. You okay, Madeline? Do you need me to beat up your dad for you? Hey, it's not that big a deal. I'll feel worse if you make this make a huge thing out of it. I understand. In the future, perhaps it would be better for you if you kept such memories close to the chest. I think I could ask for enough respect that people don't pry into details I don't share. I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of my privacy and keep you updated on what I manage to remember. It's pretty selfless of you. I don't really have much to lose from sharing. As for what I have to gain, I'm hoping that if I talk about what I remember, when I remember it, It'll help other people do the same. Or help me remember even more. That's a good theory. I can't confirm it, but I have no grounds on which to deny it either. That's good enough for me. Raven's Proof is my favourite thought exercise. You have a favourite thought exercise? Doesn't everybody? I know I do. It's Schrodinger's cat, because there's a cat in it. Next thing you're going to be saying is that we're like the cat in the box, because until the anomaly gets resolved, nobody knows if we're dead or alive. Don't do the Schrodinger's cat thing already. Jesus, I'm only 15 minutes in. Why would I do that? It's just my favourite. It doesn't apply to our current situation at all, really. At least I don't think it does. You're right, Petty. There might be many ways to think about our current situation, but that's not one of them. It's not as if every missing person is a Schrodinger's cat. There's no, is the person inside the anomaly alive or dead? It's just this person went missing. If anything, someone outside who knows that this is an anomaly gets to rest easy with the knowledge that at least you haven't been murdered. Oh, do people not die permanently inside of anomalies? That's a complicated question. But the easiest answer is in most cases, no. Loop anomalies will undo deaths by any means, and deaths by magical means will be undone when the anomaly is eliminated, regardless of its type. More or less, the only way you can really die inside an anomaly is if time works normally inside of it, and you get killed with a method from reality. A method from reality? I think I might actually know this one. If you strangle someone with your bare hands, that'll stick. Likewise, if you brought a knife with you, same thing. If you use a weapon that you find inside the anomaly, it's considered just as much magic as anything else. None of this even applies here, since time rewinds anyway, of course. But hey, did I get that right? I'm impressed, you did. Are you sure you don't have experience with anomalies? Nuh-uh, I guess I'm just such a quick learner. Is there anywhere else in this thing I'm going to get to flex my big brain? Yes, actually. I have reason to suspect that other areas are gated behind puzzles. At least, the room that I woke up in gives the impression it is a puzzle to be solved. Huh. Then of course I'm in. You're in? Rashmi managed in an instant to shift the situation to one of some kind of team mission. I felt put off by this, only for a moment, before I realised that it was actually a good idea. People were more willing to work together playfully than seriously, right? So as silly as it sounded, they were actually making sure that we'd be able to keep moving. Hey, Kanatsu, I bet everyone here is willing to go, but which other 3 people do you think we should bring? Since you've seen the room and all. 3 more. That made sense. It was the safest to follow the buddy system to some extent, leaving 2 people behind to watch each other's backs. The room was definitely too small for all 7 of us to be actively working on the puzzle, so it was on me to evaluate the other options. And if I wasn't careful when making my decisions here, I could seriously put us up the creek without a paddle. Who else should come solve the puzzle? Who's the big brain one? I can't remember their names. This one? If it's quite alright with all involved, I think. Miss Ninohara, Mr. JJ, and young Mr. Abel. I'm okay with it, but could you just use my first name? I certainly haven't done anything yet to warrant that kind of respect from somebody older than me, so it makes me kind of uncomfortable. Yes, of course, I'm sorry. That group seems perfect to me. It splits up both sets of people who already know each other, after all. Petey and I are much less likely to plot together than with our associated men, right? Yeah, that's about right. Associated men was technically correct, but wow, neither Abel nor JJ seemed too annoyed to have been referred to that way. I guess I never had that kind of close relationship to be alright with being considered anybody's associated. You never find me on one side of an ampersand. But it seemed both Perry and Abel, as well as Stephanie and JJ, had embraced being viewed as units. So that was it, huh? A group was decided. Abel and Madeline too. Be safe, okay? Be careful. Oh, Perry, don't worry about us. I wouldn't forgive myself if something happened to you. We're just gonna do a puzzle, then come right back. You'll hardly even notice I'm gone. Okay. With that squared away, the 5 of us, myself and Rashmi, as well as Madeline, Abel, and JJ, returned to the room I woke up in. I'd mentally deemed it the pillow room, for all of the pillows stacked high on the table. However, there were plenty of other items in the room. Another table had some teacups, open books, and mysterious lumps. The far wall had some striped squares on it too. That was where the young men wanted to. Madeline gravitated towards the table with the teacups. Rashmi, meanwhile, "Hey, come help me figure this pillow thing out, will you?" I walked over to them. They stood at the corner beside the pillow pile, shooting me conspiratory looks. I somehow got the impression that they wanted me to come over here for some reason other than helping with the puzzle. I somehow get the impression you want me over here for something other than this puzzle. What gave it away? The fact that I could definitely figure this out on my own? Yes, that might have something to do with it. You're right, I just wanted an excuse to talk with you a bit away from the others. I have some memories too, but I didn't want to say it when Madeline did, because they're kind of weird. Oh? As far as I can tell, I haven't forgotten anything from my real life. I remember and never forgot exactly what I was doing before I woke up here. Which is, for the record, none of your business. I won't be saying anything about that. I will admit though, I have a minor memory disorder. It's not something that makes me more prone to forgetting things, but it does make my memories unreliable. If you said to me, "Don't you remember that time that we met on the subway 2 years ago?" then my mind would fill in the blanks, even if I knew you were lying to me. So, I want to tell you what I've remembered about the other loops now, before the well of my memory gets poisoned. But before I do that, I have to ask, can I trust you, Knutson? That was a good question. Could Rashmi trust me? Yes, of course. You can, I only want what's best for you. Is that so? Well, I guess it was kind of a loaded question from me there. After all, you don't remember that much, do you? Only scattered bits and pieces, but I can't imagine I'd do anything that wasn't in the best interest of everyone here. Working in the best interest of everyone here isn't necessarily being trustworthy, you know. They were right about that. Working for the greater good was often exactly the kind of thing that could lead to individual betrayal. So to say that they could trust me completely was a bold-faced lie. Anyway, I guess I'll tell you now. How you answered never really mattered. I was just trying to get a better read on you. Rashmi fidgeted in place for a moment, tracing their fingers over the inside of the key that hung around their neck. Then they looked up again and made eye contact with me. I think that my childhood friend is here. She looks a lot different than she did when I knew her before, and acts pretty differently too. She was always kind of crass and sarcastic, but now she's super sweet, like. I think she's trying too hard, honestly. That's the impression I get. Because it might sound sort of awful to say, but I feel like I recognise her better in the parts of my memory where she snaps. In loops where she can't keep up the act and falls apart and does cruel things to other people. That's not really her either, but it's... Well, have you heard about Freud's psychoanalytical theory of the superego, ego and id? Yes, in passing, I understand the idea behind it. Superego is morality, ego is the self, and id is the deeper instincts, right? That's exactly it. I think my friend, she's been presenting as superego, and sometimes she ends up flipping all the way to her id. We're not seeing her actual self at any point, but the worst version of her is much more like her reality than the best version she tries to put forward. And you're telling me this because... I don't know, actually. I guess it just needed somebody else to understand what I feel. I think I get what you're saying, yeah. She's really capable of awful things, but she's dear to me anyway. If you run into her on another loop, try to keep that in mind. I don't think it's fair to judge a person on how low they're able to fall when you push them to the edge. I think I knew who they were talking about, but I wasn't going to take back what I said. Not this loop. Instead, I'd focus on another part of what they'd said. Is that why you decided to trust me this time too? Hey, you get it. I can tell you about my memories because I know the worst you can get. It's pretty bad, dude. But I know that's not the real you. Just all the stress and stuff fogging up your brain. Sure, but your worst side isn't quite like that, is it? I don't see the point in comparing, you know. It could be that I'm a better person than you and my friend because my brain doesn't break as violently under pressure, sure. Or it could be that I'm too much of a coward to react externally and only end up hurting myself worse if my brain breaks under pressure. I mean, it depends so much on who you ask. I don't think it ends up making a difference. There's no way to determine which sort of mental break is superior to any other. They all just kind of suck, you know? Yeah, they all kind of just do. I agreed that it mattered more what somebody did normally than what they did when pushed to the edge. I also agreed that whatever happened inside the anomaly was definitely that, being pushed to the edge. We're all doing an okay job at handling it, all things considered. when people break on certain loops, well, one thing I knew to be true was that the stress didn't just vanish from a human body even when time was ostensibly rewinding. At the same time, I was a bit concerned about Rashmi. The anomaly was one thing, but what was their threshold for the edge in everyday life? Being so forgiving was something that had high potential of backfiring on them. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, really. What about the puzzle? Oh, there's actually no puzzle at this table. It's part of the puzzle, but there's not actually anything to do here. Obviously, I figured out the whole thing, but I think I should give the others a chance to get it right. Did they really figure it out, or were they just trying to get out of doing anything? Well, it made no difference to me, actually. I walked over to where Madeline was investigating the teacups table. There's coffee. Or tea. She looked like she'd already had some idea of what to do. Myself, I hadn't any clue what the items might mean. Oh, Karatsun, hi. Hello, Madeline. How are things over here? Halfway good, I'd say? Just halfway? Halfway, yeah. I figured out what these books say. They're written in code. I just don't really know what the decoded information is good for. Oh, thank goodness. I was concerned that the halfway bad was your emotional state, not simply the puzzle at hand. Oh, my emotional state is way more than halfway bad. Oh dear. I know you told the others not to make a big deal out of it, but do you want to talk? If it's not too troublesome, I might. Most of the others are just kids, so I really didn't want to push this sort of thing on them. But you're a similar age to me, and I get the weird feeling that we've been pretty close on some of these loops. I have a similar feeling myself, and as such, I'm always willing to lend an ear to a dear friend. Thank you. It's not too much, don't worry. It's just, well, remembering how I got here was pretty disappointing. I honestly thought that I'd left that part of my life behind me.
I grew up in Japan, but after I finished university, I moved to the United States. I spoke English well, and I thought that it was a good way to get away from my family. I underestimated just how much my father wanted to control me.
Madeline's third note was added to her profile. Nice. He followed you all the way to another country? I don't think it's that. I think that my parents happened to move to the country a few years after I did. Well, I wasn't a local department store or anything. I was on a business trip and had forgotten to pack enough pairs of socks. So I wasn't exactly followed, but I knew that if he saw me, he wouldn't let me leave again so easily. It's just unpleasant to know that he's out there, right? It's stressful, just to be aware that he lives in the same country as me. Mum too, to a lesser extent. I think she'd let me go if she saw me, but I can't know that for sure. You're a grown adult. I can't do that to you. I mean, they're my parents. Yes, but you're 31 years old. Wait, I somehow knew that, even though I couldn't remember Madeline mentioning such a thing. That must have had something to do with the profiles page. Madeline? Age 31. Well, there you go. Do we have the ages of everybody already, or... Oh, we do. Okay, cool. Well, that's handy. Age, gender, orientation, and career. Too bad I couldn't get any insight on my own from that. At your age, if they tried to force you to move back in with them, you'd have a case for kidnapping or unlawful imprisonment. I know I might feel like you wouldn't have a choice in the matter, but I know what you're capable of. I mean, I feel like I know what you're capable of. You just have to run away one more time. That's what you're prepared for, isn't it? If worst came to worst, threatening legal action alone might even be enough, without even needing to go that far. My company does have good in-house lawyers. I bet one of them would be willing to give me some legal advice. I shouldn't be so sad, right? My everyday life? I never realized how content I was until I became afraid that I might lose it all. But that means it's pretty good, huh? I shouldn't let one misstep ruin everything. I've got going on for myself. That's the spirit. Of course, we have to get out of here and get back to everything. Why don't you show me what you've decoded? Oh, right. I almost forgot. Thanks for the reminder. So, what's written in here seems like nonsense, but if you string together the first character of each individual page, you actually end up with a message. The upper middle is the halfway. Take aim at the centers of each room you've seen, and then the room you wish to reach. It's comprehensible enough that I'd say that you got it right. Right? The problem is that I'm not totally sure what it's talking about. The upper middle is the hallway. Take aim at the centers of each room that you've seen, then the room you wish to reach. Trying to think about what exactly that meant was a problem for later. Right now, we just need to determine where a riddle like that could be applied. Where can we use this riddle? I don't know. Hallway? Maybe we're supposed to solve this riddle back in the hallway. I thought that for a second too, but we can't actually go back there right now. The trapdoor doesn't work. We probably can't get out until we solve the puzzle, so it has to be something inside here. Oh. So I was taking things a bit too literally there. Usually I'm the person in the room who's doing that. Sorry, I couldn't be more helpful. I can't think of anything. If nothing else, you did remind me to only think about stuff that's right here in this room. So maybe the squares are better a bit. Yeah, I'd say so. Madeline was able to figure it out, but I still felt silly for thinking the answer to this room's puzzle could be outside this room. Thanks for helping me figure it out, Knudsen. So, onto the squares, right? If you'd like to sit down and rest for a bit, I can share the riddle with the boys. You're having an emotionally rough loop this time around, after all. I kind of am, huh? I'll take you up on that offer then. You remember the riddle, okay? My mind may not be a steel trap, but I do have it memorized. With that, I left Madeline to her rest. As soon as I turned my attention to the boys, I noticed they're bickering. I'm telling you, we throw this ball a few times, and we're bound to get the right answer eventually. Are you really okay with getting the right answer eventually? Don't you want to figure it out first time? Looks like I got here at just the right time. If you're talking about the order in which to activate the squares, I have a riddle here that might help. Thank you. See, Abel? I knew that there had to be rhyme and or reason to it. Yeah, because you wasted a bunch of time that we could have spent trying different combinations to get it figured out before Knudsen had to come over here. Stephanie told me that she thinks we have plenty of time, even though it's already night. I'm not too worried about it. I just want to get out of here, you know? We've been here a really long time. Oh, that's true, but how can you tell, Abel? Oh, well, I'm pretty good at remembering, but that's not the only factor. I know we've been here a long time because I've used up a lot of the stuff in my backpack. Your backpack? Yeah.
My backpack has the magic power of I don't throw anything away.
I don't think that's a magic power. But I checked it when I woke up, and I was actually on the backup bottles to some of the medicine I carry with me. Abel's third note was added to the profile. So items were brought in from the outside could be used up across the loops. That makes sense, but it's interesting anyway. Do you mind me asking which medicines you've used up? Nothing's been used up, I'm more prepared than that. But the stuff I'm running lower on, all short-term pain meds, Excedrin, Advil, that kind of thing. That makes sense, doesn't it? You're a kind person, so you probably share a lot, yeah? So, someone wakes up here with a headache, they get medicine from you to help the headache, it takes effect, the medicine's used up. Time rewinds to before they took the medicine, so the headache comes back, but the pill was still used, so it doesn't reappear in your bag. Man, if I think too hard about this time loop stuff, I'm gonna have my own headache. That kind of high concept nonsense is way out of my wheelhouse. Don't worry, high concept is the only stuff that is in my wheelhouse. Together, maybe we can have one anomaly-ready brain. Don't sweat the small stuff, I got that under control. You may be an 8th grader who's smarter than me. But at least I can sort out the pseudoscience. The intricate rituals of young men to go from arguing to combining their powers in such little time. So, what's the riddle, Knudsen? The upper middle is the hallway. Take aim at the center of each room that you've seen, then the room you wish to reach. That sounds simple, but placing the hallway as the upper middle makes it a little hard to figure out what the pattern's supposed to be. He was right about that, but there were ways to figure it out. Why was the hallway the upper middle? So that's where we start? Yeah, let's go with that. It's probably wrong. Probably it's just the key for where to start. Say the hallway is the upper middle, so that's the first one. This room would be the upper right, the room we're trying to reach would be lower left. It works well enough for me. It's not like we have much choice but to try at this point, right? Yes, finally! It almost felt too easy. JJ walked across the room following the command to take aim. Abel took the tossing ball back to him, so he didn't need to pace back and forth. He hit the upper middle, upper right, then lower left squares. The two rooms we'd seen so far and the one we wished to reach. After hitting the third ball, all the squares turned green, confirming our actions as correct. We'd done it. We applied the riddle and found a solution. I turned to look at the pillow table, assuming that it would have to be the last step, but they were just green now. They're green now. Yes, I can see that. Also, the door's not boarded up anymore. Wait, that was it? They were right, all three planks which blocked off this door had vanished. The clear implication here was that we could now go through to the next room. Oh, it's open. We should go back to Perry and Stephanie before we go through them, assuming that the trapdoor will open again. Maybe we should just scout ahead before getting them. Oh, like if it turns out it's another puzzle room, we don't want all 7 of us to get stuck inside. That's part of it, yeah, but also, we know it's allowed. Kanatsun scouted this room before, and it didn't lock him in either. What JJ said sounded reasonable, but I didn't exactly agree. For one, I already knew that the next room wouldn't be a puzzle room. For another, if something did go wrong, that puzzle we just did confirmed that the clock tower arranged itself in a linear fashion, where there was an order to the rooms. In such anomalies, any kind of creeping destruction always followed a similar linear path. Leaving Stephanie and Perry in the hallway while we went further was just playing with trouble. They probably wouldn't be able to catch up with us quick enough from all the way back here, whether to escape or to warn us. Insist on getting the others first. And with that, we're actually going to wrap this one up here, because we're out of time for today. But you'll need to let me know down below if this is one you want to see continued on with as well. I'm thinking I'm going to check over all the impression videos that we've done over the last few days. And I'll pick out the one that has got the most, you know, interaction, the most views and likes and people commenting on it, that they want to see more of it. That'll be the one that we move forward with in the next main series. But for now, I think we are done with Entropic Float. It's interesting. I like some of the concepts. It's reasonably ugly, as you can probably tell. You know, like the UI and everything. But like they said, it's a lot of free assets and fair use stuff, that sort of thing, cobbled together. You know what I mean? But and it was a bit slow to start, but once it got started, the story seemed pretty interesting. Anyway, let me know what you think anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.